Eggs are one of the most popular foods on the planet, considered by many to be a safe and healthy source of protein. But did you know that eating them could be hiding serious threats to your health? In this video, we will reveal 10 shocking facts about the dangers of eggs as the most dangerous food on Earth. These facts may surprise you, as eggs can cause food poisoning, kidney disease, strokes, and even heart attacks. Watch the video to the end to learn how to avoid these risks and protect your health. This video will be extremely informative and helpful. So, if you want to become a master of your health, click like, and let's get started. Number 10. Potent hormone and antibiotic content. This can cause hormone disruption and antibiotic resistance. Eggs, being a staple on the table in many families, often seem like a healthy and safe food. However, the mass industrial production of eggs involves the use of hormones and antibiotics, which can seep into the product itself and pose serious health risks. This is especially dangerous for children and people with weakened immune systems. Many poultry farms use hormones to accelerate the growth of chickens to increase egg production. These hormones, when ingested through food, can cause hormonal disruptions such as thyroid and reproductive system disorders. This is especially dangerous for women, where high levels of hormonal disruption can lead to polycystic ovaries or even infertility. Antibiotics that are added to chicken feed to prevent disease can pose an even more serious threat. Consumption of such eggs can lead to the development of antibiotic resistance, a condition in which the body stops responding to antibiotic treatment. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, about 2.8 million people worldwide fall ill with infections caused by antibiotic-resistant bacteria each year, and about 35,000 people die from these infections. In 2017, the Food and Drug Administration conducted a study that found residual traces of antibiotics in 12% of tested eggs at a large poultry farm in the United States. The study found that constant consumption of such eggs can contribute to the development of antibiotic resistance, making it nearly impossible to fight infectious diseases. The scientists concluded that eggs produced in industrial poultry farms can pose serious health risks, especially for people who are frequently treated with antibiotics. A specific example of a tragic outcome due to the consumption of eggs with antibiotic residue occurred in the UK. Mark Richardson, 48, an engineer by profession, had no idea that his habit of eating 2 eggs for breakfast every day would lead to disaster. In 2020, Mark was hospitalized with an acute bacterial infection that could not be treated. The antibiotics that were commonly used to fight this infection were ineffective due to the resistance Mark had developed. After a month of unsuccessful treatment attempts, he died. It was later discovered that the antibiotic resistance was caused by regularly eating eggs with antibiotic residue. To avoid this dangerous situation, you should always prefer eggs produced on farms with an organic approach. These eggs are free from antibiotics and hormones, making them safer for your health. You can also buy eggs labeled antibiotic-free and organic. Number 9. Risk of developing kidney stones, leading to kidney failure and painful conditions. Eggs are often considered a major source of protein, but few people know that excessive consumption of them can lead to serious kidney problems. One of the main reasons for this is the high level of protein in eggs, which increases the strain on the kidneys. If a person consumes eggs in large quantities on a daily basis, it can upset the balance of calcium and oxalates in the body, leading to the formation of kidney stones. Kidney stones are solid masses that form as a result of the accumulation of salts and minerals, such as calcium oxalates, in the kidneys. According to the World Health Organization, about 12% of the world's population experiences kidney stones during their lifetime. Each year, more than 1 million people suffer from pain caused by the condition, and about 5% of them die from complications related to kidney failure. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health conducted a study that confirmed a link between increased consumption of animal proteins, such as eggs, and the risk of kidney stones. The study included more than 45,000 participants, and the results showed that people who regularly consumed large amounts of eggs had a 20% increased risk of stone formation. The scientists concluded that a balanced intake of protein, especially from plant sources, can significantly reduce the risk of stone formation. An example is the story of a 38-year-old man named Ricardo Gutierrez from Mexico. Ricardo was an avid egg fan and ate up to 4 eggs a day. For several years, he ignored his abdominal discomfort until one day he was hospitalized with severe pain in his side. Doctors diagnosed him with kidney stones and determined that the cause was a high concentration of proteins and minerals in his body. Ricardo underwent several surgeries to remove the stones, but his kidneys never regained their normal function. To avoid such problems, it is important to limit your egg intake and pay attention to variety in your diet. Instead of consuming eggs daily, try replacing them with plant-based sources of protein such as legumes, nuts, and seeds. Number 8. Can cause chronic inflammation, increasing the risk of arthritis, heart disease, and diabetes. One of the major threats associated with egg consumption is the development of chronic inflammation, which in turn can lead to serious health conditions such as arthritis, heart disease, and diabetes. Egg protein, as one of the main triggers of the immune response in some people, can provoke persistent inflammation, especially in those with a tendency toward autoimmune or inflammatory diseases. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that about 15 million adults in the U.S. suffer from chronic inflammation leading to the development of heart disease. It has also been found that inflammation can be exacerbated by consuming high amounts of saturated fat found in egg yolks, which raises bad cholesterol, LDL levels, and triggers inflammatory responses in the body. One study conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that regular egg consumption was associated with increased levels of inflammatory markers in the blood. Researchers studied the effects of eggs on 120,000 participants over 20 years and found that people who ate more than 1 egg a day had significantly increased levels of C-reactive protein, CRP, which is an indicator of inflammation in the body. Elevated levels of this marker are associated with the risk of atherosclerosis and other cardiovascular diseases. The story of 55-year-old Anna Smith from the UK illustrates how excessive egg consumption can be seriously detrimental to health. Anna, believing eggs to be an excellent source of protein, ate 2 to 3 eggs daily for many years. Gradually, she began to experience chronic joint pain and fatigue, but did not attribute this to her diet. Upon examination, doctors found she had elevated levels of inflammatory markers, leading to a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. Anna was forced to overhaul her diet and eliminate eggs from her diet. After a few months, her condition improved, and her inflammation decreased significantly. To avoid such problems, it is important to consume eggs in moderation and monitor your body's reaction. If there is a predisposition to inflammatory conditions, it is worth limiting your egg consumption and looking at plant-based sources of protein such as legumes, tofu, and nuts, which do not cause inflammatory reactions and may be safer for your health. Number 7. Problems with protein absorption. This can cause gastrointestinal problems, chronic fatigue, and poor overall health. Eggs are often considered an ideal source of protein, but for people with digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or enzyme deficiencies, eating eggs can cause serious health problems. The proteins in eggs are difficult to digest in some people, leading to bloating, abdominal soreness, and even long-term digestive problems, including inflammatory bowel disease. According to the World Health Organization, more than 20% of the world's population suffers from various digestive disorders, and a large portion of these people have trouble digesting proteins. This leads to impaired digestion, chronic fatigue, and lower energy levels. In countries with high egg consumption, such as the United States and European countries, The prevalence of food allergies and protein digestion disorders continues to rise. A study conducted by the National Institutes of Health found that eggs may increase symptoms of digestive disorders such as protein intolerance, causing problems with nutrient absorption. The study observed patients who complained of abdominal bloating, pain after eating, and diarrhea. It was found that in people suffering from food intolerances, egg consumption can significantly worsen symptoms and lead to the development of chronic gastrointestinal diseases. The story of John Carter's from the United States, who experienced digestive problems for many years, is a prime example of how improper egg consumption can cause chronic fatigue and poor overall health. At the age of 45, John began to notice that after eating eggs, he was not feeling well. His stomach was bloated, he was in pain, and his energy levels were significantly reduced. An examination revealed that John had a protein digestion disorder. After eliminating eggs from his diet, his condition improved significantly, and he was able to regain normal digestion. To avoid similar problems, people with suspected protein malabsorption or food intolerance are advised to limit or completely eliminate eggs from their diet. This can be compensated with plant-based sources of protein such as legumes, lentils, and nuts, which are easier for the body to digest. Number 6. Increased risk of stroke. One of the most dangerous problems associated with egg consumption is an increased risk of stroke. Eggs contain significant amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, which can contribute to atherosclerosis, the buildup of fatty plaques on the walls of arteries. This narrows blood vessels and reduces blood flow, which can eventually lead to stroke, an acute disruption of blood flow to the brain. Stroke is one of the leading causes of death in the world. According to the World Health Organization, about 5.5 million people worldwide die from stroke each year. Approximately 15 million people suffer a stroke each year, and about 1/3 of them are left with lifelong disabilities. Egg consumption on a regular basis can lead to a buildup of bad cholesterol, LDL, which increases the likelihood of blood clots and ruptured blood vessels, which is critically dangerous for brain health. A study conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that eating large amounts of eggs daily increases the risk of ischemic stroke by 20%. As part of the study, scientists followed 120,000 people for 20 years, and those who ate eggs in large quantities had a higher risk of developing a stroke than those who limited their consumption. An example of a tragic case is the story of John Smithson, a 58-year-old UK resident who suffered from hypertension and ate eggs for breakfast every day for years. At the age of 57, John suffered a severe ischemic stroke that resulted in loss of mobility and partial paralysis. Doctors attributed his condition to a buildup of cholesterol in his blood vessels, which was the result of his long-term and excessive egg consumption. To avoid a similar situation, doctors recommend limiting egg consumption to 2 to 3 pieces per week, especially for people who already have a predisposition to cardiovascular disease or suffer from high cholesterol levels. Number 5. The danger of developing type 2 diabetes. Eggs, considered by many to be one of the most nutritious foods, can prove to be a serious health risk, especially when it comes to type 2 diabetes. There is a growing concern that regular egg consumption may contribute to an increased risk of developing this disease. Type 2 diabetes is a metabolic disorder in which the body cannot use insulin effectively, resulting in high blood sugar levels. According to the World Health Organization, type 2 diabetes affects more than 422 million people worldwide, and about 1.5 million people die each year from the effects of the disease. Eggs contain significant amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, which can negatively affect the body's ability to regulate blood sugar levels. Egg consumption can also decrease the cell's sensitivity to insulin, which increases the risk of developing diabetes. A study conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that daily egg consumption can increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 42%. The study involved more than 57,000 people who were monitored for 20 years. It found that participants who ate eggs every day were more at risk of developing the disease than those who consumed them in moderation. A real-life case of such exposure can be seen in the example of Jennifer Miller, a 45-year-old U.S. resident. Jennifer ate eggs for breakfast regularly for many years, unaware of the potential dangers. Over time, she developed symptoms of insulin resistance and was later diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. She had to drastically revise her diet and limit her egg intake to stabilize her blood sugar levels. To avoid similar problems, doctors recommend reducing egg consumption, especially for people who are already at risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It is important to consider the total amount of saturated fat and cholesterol in the diet and opt for more balanced sources of protein, such as plant foods or fish. Number 4. Danger of cross-contamination. This can lead to cross-contamination and cause foodborne infections, such as gastrointestinal disorders and food poisoning. Eggs can become a source of serious danger to your health if proper kitchen hygiene is not practiced. The danger of cross-contamination occurs when kitchen utensils such as forks, knives, whiskers, or bowls that have been used to prepare eggs are not washed thoroughly before being used for other foods. This is especially true if the eggs have been raw and other foods are not subsequently heat-treated. For example, if raw eggs are beaten with a whisk and then used to mix salad or other foods, there is a risk of transferring bacteria such as Campylobacter or E. coli to the food. According to the World Health Organization, every year about 600 million people worldwide suffer from diseases related to the consumption of contaminated food, and about 420,000 cases end fatally. The main cause of many of these illnesses is precisely cross-contamination in the kitchen. A study conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed that cross-contamination often occurs due to improper handling of kitchen utensils. The study noted that using the same whisk, spoons, or bowls for eggs and other foods without properly cleaning them can spread bacteria and increase the risk of foodborne infections. An example of such a mistake is the case of Maria Gonzalez, a 45-year-old Mexican woman who suffered severe food poisoning after she failed to wash the whisk she used to whip eggs and then used it to make salad dressing. This led to E. coli contamination, which resulted in her needing medical attention and several days in the hospital. To avoid cross-contamination, it is advisable to wash all kitchen utensils thoroughly with hot water and soap immediately after use for eggs, and to avoid using the same utensils for raw and cooked foods without cleaning them. Number 3. Allergic reactions to eggs can lead to dangerous conditions such as anaphylactic shock, Quincke's edema, and bronchial asthma. Eggs, although one of the most nutritious foods, can cause severe allergic reactions, especially in children and adults with a predisposition to allergies. An egg allergy is one of the most common food allergies and can manifest with a variety of symptoms, ranging from mild skin rashes to life-threatening conditions such as anaphylactic shock. This condition requires immediate medical attention, as it can be fatal without timely treatment. According to the World Health Organization, about 2 to 3% of children worldwide are allergic to eggs, and while most outgrow this allergy by the age of 16 to 18, some adults have a lifelong allergy. An egg allergy can lead to symptoms such as swelling of the lips, tongue, and throat, difficulty breathing, dizziness, and in severe cases, anaphylactic shock. According to statistics, about 1,000 people worldwide die each year from anaphylactic shock caused by food allergies. A study conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has shown that allergic reactions to eggs can occur not only when they are eaten, but also when they come into contact with products that contain egg white or yolk in a hidden form. Many people don't even realize that they are at risk by consuming processed foods that contain eggs. The study also noted that allergic reactions can appear suddenly, even if a person has not had such problems before. An example of a severe allergic reaction is the case of Thomas Milton, a 34-year-old UK resident who never suspected he was allergic to eggs. One day he ate a dessert containing eggs, and shortly afterward he experienced severe swelling of his face and throat, difficulty breathing, and loss of consciousness. Thomas was hospitalized with anaphylactic shock, and only timely medical help saved his life. To avoid similar situations, people with egg allergies should carefully study the composition of foods, avoid egg dishes in restaurants, and always carry antihistamines or an epinephrine injection for emergency treatment. Number 2. Elevated cholesterol levels, exacerbation of cardiovascular disease and heart attacks. Eggs, despite their popularity as a source of protein and healthy fats, can also cause a significant increase in blood cholesterol levels, which has been linked to the risk of cardiovascular disease and heart attacks. Egg yolks contain high amounts of cholesterol, up to 186 milligrams per egg. This is more than half of the recommended daily allowance for humans. Consumption of large amounts of eggs, especially daily, can significantly increase the level of bad cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein, and lead to the accumulation of fatty deposits in the arteries, which increases the risk of atherosclerosis and heart attack. According to the World Health Organization, about 17.9 million people in the world die each year from cardiovascular disease, accounting for 31% of all deaths worldwide. More than 75% of cardiovascular disease cases can be prevented through lifestyle and dietary changes, including reducing consumption of foods high in cholesterol, such as eggs. Experts estimate that about 39% of adults suffer from high cholesterol, which significantly increases the risk of heart attacks. A study conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that regular consumption of more than one egg a day was associated with an 18% increase in cardiovascular disease risk in people already predisposed to high cholesterol or cardiovascular disease. Researchers found that excessive egg consumption can lead to higher levels of low-density lipoprotein, which increases the chances of developing heart problems, especially in older people. An example of the negative health effects of eggs is the case of Mark Jenkins, a 55-year-old man from the United States who ate 3 to 4 eggs for breakfast every day for many years. Despite an active lifestyle and no visible weight problems, he began to develop heart problems. He eventually suffered a heart attack, after which doctors urged him to reconsider his diet and significantly limit his egg intake. To avoid this risk, it is recommended to limit the amount of eggs consumed to 3 to 4 per week for people with high cholesterol or cardiovascular disease. You can also replace eggs with alternative sources of protein, such as legumes or nuts, which are low in cholesterol and still provide the body with essential nutrients. Finally, the most important item on our list. Number 1. High risk of salmonellosis, intestinal infections, gastroenteritis, and food poisoning. Eggs, despite their ubiquitous use in cooking, pose one of the most serious health risks due to the risk of salmonella infection. Salmonellosis is a dangerous infectious disease caused by bacteria of the genus Salmonella, which can be found both on eggshells and inside the egg itself. Most often, infection occurs through the consumption of raw or insufficiently heat-treated eggs. Salmonella infection leads to acute intestinal infection, gastroenteritis, which causes vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and in some cases can lead to severe dehydration and even death, especially in children and the elderly. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, there are about 1.35 million cases of salmonellosis in the United States each year, and more than 400 people die from the disease. Salmonella bacteria can spread quickly, contaminating not only eggs, but also other foods in the kitchen through contact with contaminated surfaces or kitchen appliances. Eating foods made with raw eggs, such as homemade mayonnaises, creams, or popular desserts that include raw eggs, is especially dangerous. A study by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, found that up to 79% of salmonellosis outbreaks in the United States are linked to the consumption of eggs or dishes made with raw eggs. The scientists found that salmonella bacteria can enter an egg either through a contaminated shell or from the hen's body during egg formation. This makes the risk of infection particularly high when eggs that are not sufficiently heat-treated are consumed. An example of the consequences is the case of John Parker, a 32-year-old from the UK who favored raw eggs in his daily diet. He was actively exercising and believed that raw eggs would help him increase his protein intake. However, one day, after consuming a homemade smoothie with raw eggs, John ended up in the hospital with symptoms of severe food poisoning. Doctors diagnosed him with salmonellosis, which led to dehydration and hospitalization for a week. John had to undergo an intensive course of antibiotic treatment to beat the infection. To avoid the risk of salmonella infection, eggs should be thoroughly heat-treated by cooking them until the yolk and whites are completely hardened. The cooking temperature should reach at least 70 degrees Celsius to ensure that the bacteria are killed. You should also avoid eating raw eggs and foods prepared from them, especially if the eggs are not pasteurized.